Welcome back to the Mid-Year YouTube channel. Today's episode, I'm mocking up my 67 Corvette body Overkill on my brand new Roadster Shop Spec 7 chassis. We have a lot of mock-up to do. We have some modifications to make this body fit the Roadster Shop chassis. I'm going to show you what you need to do if you're going to try to tackle this at home. Then I'm going to mock up engine, transmission, wheels, tires, brakes, everything. We're going to do a full mock-up on the car, blow it all apart so I can send the chassis out for powder coating. So be sure to stick around. If you want to come see my 67 Corvette Overkill, come to Corvettes at Carlisle. I should be there Thursday to Saturday. I roughly cut out the rear floor. It's gonna need some tweaks, but I figured let's just get the bulk of it out and then we'll make the adjustments when it's on the chassis. So I have the car rigged up, I'll pick the body up and then we'll get this floor out of here, set it on there and make our tweaks to make sure it actually fits down on the chassis and see what this thing looks like at ride height. So I have the body sitting down on the Roadster Shop chassis for the first time. Just had to make a couple little adjustments. Back in this corner by the rear body mount, had to notch that a little bit more for that frame rail, but that cleared nice. Every other cut I made was right on the money. Everything looks good. And I made extra room in here because I'm gonna tub this thing and put some really big tires back here. So that's why I went and cut all of that out. So now you can see the beautiful chassis is exposed, which looks great for right now, but eventually we're gonna need to cover that. So I have my 19 by 12 inch wide wheels mocked up on the back of the car, and I have brakes in place to get the right spacing. And it looks like I'm gonna have good clearance width-wise with the body. And I put these in place so I can figure out my rear floor. So there's a ton of different options that you can go with, but I am going with the NO3 big tank 36 gallon fuel cell cover. So there was only like 200 of those cars ever built through 63 to 67 and only 2 in 67. So this will be, you know, the third unofficial one. And the cover does a good job of covering up the whole chassis like I wanted it to. I have it screwed in place. It was originally bolted in around the perimeter to cover the gas tank. I'm gonna glue this in and fiberglass it, but I have it locked in place. So now I have the wheel wells also mounted in place. And I don't know if you can see right through here, you can see the lip of the wheel. So what I need to do is widen these wheel tubs, which are also for a big tank car. I need to widen these about 3 inches, and I'm gonna bring this tub all the way out into here. I'm gonna cut away this edge, and I'm gonna blend it into this part over here, and I'll just fiberglass all that stuff together. I have all 4 wheels on it with the brake rotors to give me the correct spacing, and everything actually fits pretty well. I need to get the inner fender in here to see what it looks like, but the wheel is sunken in far enough, it's not gonna hit the wheel lip. It actually might almost be sunken in too far. This is a 9.5 inch Corvette wheel, and at full lock it will hit the inside of the frame, but I can get some stops to put in there, and I may be able to space the wheel out just a little bit. So I think I can make a 9.5 inch wheel work. The 8 inch wheel I have on this side is too small in diameter. It gives me a lot more clearance here, but you know, it doesn't look as good. We're all about looking good. So I think we can make these work, and they're already chrome, which is sweet. I had to set the front end on here so I could take a look at that. I put my roller donuts back on so I could get the engine in here and the transmission. So if you're not familiar, this is my 500 horsepower 327 that I had in the Misfit Split. It's been in storage for a little while. This thing is a pretty stout engine. And I just got this brand new Tremec TKX from Silver Sport. So I'm gonna mate this up to that engine. So we have the engine transmission in. I have a very rough mock-up going on with the front end. I threw this inner fender in just to see what it looks like, along with the correct wheel I'm going to use. May have to stretch this inner fender a little bit. It's, like I said, it's just roughly sitting in here, but you can see there's quite a big gap between the inner fender and the frame, and I'm going to need some of that for my turning radius. So I'm going to limit the steering travel a little bit, so that way the wheel doesn't hit the frame, but I may have to do that for both sides. And then I have transmission is not going to hit the floor at all because there's no floor, but whenever I set the piece inside there, it's fine. So there's plenty of room in the tunnel for the shifter and everything, so I need to get that put back together and then fill in the hole back there. But all the floor stuff is looking good. I threw a reproduction battery tray down there and it looks like that'll work. But the frame rail is much skinnier than the original one, so I need to drill some spot welds to remove the bracket that was on here and pull it in so it actually clamps the frame on both sides. But I think I can, the frame rail is so thick on these things. I was going to weld it, but I think I could actually just drill and tap some holes in this frame. On the driver's side, I have the clutch cross shaft mounted in here. Now, most people, probably 100% of people that buy this chassis run a hydraulic clutch or an automatic, but I want to keep it traditional because I have all the parts and run a mechanical clutch. Now, this cross shaft is going slightly uphill right now. I have to modify this tab, which is a reproduction of the original tab. So the original frame rail would have been way down there. So I think we can make this work with some modifications. It will have a little bit of an angle, but it still doesn't have any bind or anything in it. It feels good. So I think we're going to be okay there. I just have to modify that tab and weld that on. I also have the side pipes mocked in place very roughly just to see how it fits. And I had to bend the ear on the back of the side pipe to be flat on the frame. And that seems to be fitting pretty good. I just have to drill a hole in the frame on the underside and tap that hole, and I should be able just to mount the side pipe on either side with that. So I think I'm about done with mock-up with the body on. I trimmed up this tab and it fits in here pretty good. Just needs a little more refining, but I can at least get the front end off for that. And then as far as the steering, I used this bar for my Eastwood shrinker stretcher to kind of simulate what it would look like. And if I put that in the coupler, you can see right now we're running into stuff the way that it's set up. And this has a stock spline in it that would allow you to get to an original steering box. Well, we're not going to use that. So I think what I'm going to do is knock these roll pins out and take this inner sleeve out. And then I will get a coupler for this D shaft, and that will shorten my length. So instead of being here, with my arms in the way, instead of being here, I can move the shaft further back, and that'll give me a much more, if you can use your imagination, that'll give you a much more direct shot. So I'm going to take some measurements to see how much rod I need and get some joints ordered for that. But I think that's pretty much most of what I wanted to test fit. I'll test fit the floor real quick. Steering column looks good. So I think we're pretty much wrapped up. Everything else I think I can wing from here. I mocked up the gas tank. I just threw it in. There's a nice cross member that pulls out. A little tricky to get this tank to fit in, but it fit in like a glove, a lot easier to put it on before the body goes on. It looks like I will be able to use a coupe filler neck in here as well, so that's good to know that it takes the stock tank and all the stock components. And I welded on this tab, and my welds aren't as nice as theirs, but you know, I think they're good enough for who it's for, so that's fine. Now I just need to take everything apart, so this is my first time diving into this. So in a little over 2 hours, I got the whole car blown apart, and it actually came apart pretty easy. This is a very well-designed chassis. There are a couple of learning curves for me to figure out, but overall, it was very simple to take apart. Got the engine out, have all the parts laid out. All these guys are going to the powder coater, and then I need to clean these parts up, put them in storage until this comes back. And it should hopefully be back in about a week. I'm sending it out today on a Friday, so hopefully before the following Friday it's back. Get this thing fully assembled, get the engine in it, start working on like the fuel line, getting the gas tank mounted, getting the clutch linkage set up, trying to figure out my power steering setup, and then I'll be also working on the body, getting the floor finished up, getting the underside fiberglassed, so that way this thing can go on top of here and we can just start building the car. So this thing's gonna come together pretty quick, so buckle up. This is gonna be a fast-paced series. But that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. This is gonna be the first part of many parts about me putting this car on a Roadster Shop chassis. This was just the mock-up. In the next video, you're gonna see me get the chassis back from powder coating, which is sitting right there, and it looks awesome. I'm gonna reassemble the chassis and get that thing ready so that way the body can go on there for the final time. I have some floor mods to do, which you'll see in an upcoming video as well. You'll see all the floor work that goes into this, into at least making a custom floor. There are plenty of other routes that you can go, but I decided to go the custom floor route. So I'll have videos on that, and this thing will be ready for Corvettes at Carlisle in August. Ready, you know, whatever state it's in, it'll be there. So I got a lot of work to do, and I'll catch you guys later. Check out this stance with these 12-inch wide wheels under the back. This is the money shot right here. This thing is gonna look wicked whenever it's down on the ground.